The sun dipped low over the sprawling fields of the ranch, casting long shadows that danced across the ground. I worked on the ranch to pay my debt. I didn't know he was the boss. Emma stood with her hands on her hips, staring at the vast expanse of land that would soon become her workplace. The air was thick with the scent of fresh hay and the distant sound of whinnying horses, a stark contrast to the chaos that had consumed her life just months before. She felt a mix of apprehension and determination. This job was her only way to settle the debts that loomed over her like dark clouds. As she took a deep breath, hoping to calm her nerves, she caught a glimpse of the ranch boss in the distance, his silhouette framed against the setting sun. He was a formidable figure, renowned for his strength and silence, a man whose presence commanded respect. Emma had heard the stories whispered among the townsfolk, tales of his unyielding nature and the way he ran the ranch with an iron fist. Her heart raced at the thought of working under such a man. Would he be as intimidating as everyone claimed? The sound of laughter jolted her from her thoughts. A group of ranch hands was gathered nearby, their camaraderie evident as they shared stories, the bond of shared labor evident in their easy banter. Emma felt a pang of envy. She had always been a bit of a loner, and the thought of fitting in with this tight-knit community scared her. Yet there was something about the ranch that drew her in, a sense of purpose that had been missing from her life. As she approached the group, she could feel their eyes on her. "Look who's finally here," one of the men called out, a teasing grin on his face. "New girl, huh?" "You ready to work harder than you ever have before?" Emma forced a smile, trying to mask her trepidation. "I've had my fair share of hard work," she replied, her voice steadier than she felt. The laughter around her faded slightly, replaced by curious glances. She was determined to prove herself not just to them but to herself. This was her chance to turn her life around, to escape the burden of her past. Suddenly the narrator's voice broke in, almost like a quiet conversation shared only with the audience. "If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel." Emma didn't register the words at first, too wrapped up in her own swirling thoughts. The day's tasks began, and Emma quickly found herself swept into the routine of ranch life. She learned to saddle horses, feeling the powerful muscles beneath the leather as she tightened the girth. The first time she mounted, she felt a surge of adrenaline rush through her. It was exhilarating. However, as she worked alongside the other ranch hands, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was an outsider. The laughter and easy banter continued, and Emma felt the pressure of her past looming over her like an ominous cloud. The debts she owed were never far from her mind, and with every task, she could sense the weight of her struggles pressing down on her shoulders. The ranch was alive with sounds, the whinnying of horses, the rustle of hay, the occasional call from one of the men nearby. As she mended fences under the watchful eyes of her colleagues, she noticed that the ranch boss, Jack, was observing her from a distance. His expression was inscrutable, but Emma felt the intensity of his gaze. There was something about him that stirred her curiosity, a mystery wrapped in the rough exterior of a man who seemed to be made of stone. With each passing day, she found herself drawn to him, yet terrified of his unapproachable demeanor. Jack was the kind of man who seemed to carry the weight of the world on his shoulders, and Emma couldn't help but wonder what lay beneath the surface. Did he ever feel the pressure of expectations? Did he have his own debts, perhaps of a different kind? Yet as she learned more about the ranch and her role within it, she began to realize that the relationships among the ranch hands were complex. Misunderstandings arose, fueled by pride and the unspoken tension that hung in the air. Emma was keenly aware that her presence was stirring emotions in this tight-knit community, and it made her anxious. She could feel the whispers behind her back, the way they scrutinized her every move. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the expansive fields, Emma felt a mixture of hope and fear. She had embarked on this journey to reclaim her life, but the challenges ahead were daunting. The ranch was a beautiful place filled with potential and promise, but it was also a world where emotions ran deep and connections were fraught with complications. In her heart, she knew that this wasn't just about paying off her debts. It was about finding a place where she belonged. She took a moment to watch the sun dip below the horizon, the colors painting the sky a brilliant orange and pink. Perhaps, just perhaps, she could carve out a space for herself here, even amidst the uncertainties. With renewed determination, Emma refocused her thoughts on the tasks that lay ahead. She was prepared to work hard, to earn her place, and to face whatever challenges came her way. Little did she know that her journey would intertwine with Jack's in ways she could never have anticipated. As the evening settled in around her, Emma turned back to her work, her mind racing with possibilities. This ranch was now her home, and she was ready to embrace whatever it had to offer. The sun climbed higher in the sky, casting its warm glow over the dusty ranch. Emma was filled with anticipation and trepidation on her first full day of work. She had woken up early, the excitement mingling with nerves in her stomach. The other ranch hands were already bustling about, their laughter floating through the air like a melody beckoning her to join. As she stepped into the center of the activity, she could feel their gazes falling on her, curious and assessing. "Look who's finally here," a tall man with a broad smile shouted, his eyes sparkling with mischief. "New girl, huh? You ready to work harder than you ever have before?" Emma's heart raced and she forced a smile, trying to mask her anxiety. "I've had my share of hard work," she replied, her voice steadier than she felt. The laughter around her began to fade slightly, replaced by intrigued glances. The ranch seemed alive and she was determined to prove herself, not just to them, but to herself. This was her chance to turn her life around, to escape the burden of her past. Suddenly, the narrator's voice broke in, almost like a quiet conversation shared only with the audience. "If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel." Emma, caught up in her swirling thoughts, didn't register the words at first. She was too focused on what lay ahead. As the day unfolded, Emma quickly found herself swept into the rhythm of ranch life. She learned to saddle horses, feeling the powerful muscles beneath the leather as she tightened the girth. The first time she mounted a horse, an exhilarating rush surged through her. The feeling of freedom was intoxicating, but beneath that exhilaration lay an undercurrent of fear. Could she truly belong here? While working alongside the other ranch hands, she couldn't shake the feeling of being an outsider. Laughter and banter echoed around her, yet Emma felt a wall separating her from them. Each task reminded her of the debt she owed, and her determination to repay it sent waves of pressure washing over her. It was as if the weight of her struggles pressed down on her shoulders as she worked. The ranch was a tableau of life. The whinnying of horses, the rustle of hay, the rhythmic sound of boots on dirt. Each moment was a reminder of the camaraderie she sought, but couldn't yet fully grasp. As she mended fences, glancing occasionally towards the silhouette of the ranch boss, Jack, she could sense his watchful gaze. His expression was inscrutable, but it felt heavy with expectations. She noticed how he moved through the ranch like a force, strong, silent, and commanding respect without uttering a word. There was something magnetic about him that drew her in yet terrified her. What was he thinking? Did he even acknowledge her presence among the others? Every time she caught a glimpse of him, her heart would race. Jack was the kind of man who seemed to carry the weight of the world on his shoulders. Each day she felt a growing curiosity about him, a need to understand the man behind the wall of stoicism. Did he ever feel the pressure of expectations? Did he have his own burdens that weighed him down? As Emma continued her work, misunderstandings among the ranch hands began to surface. Pride and tension filled the air, igniting arguments over trivial matters. Emma was caught in the crossfire, feeling the tension rise as she became aware of the dynamics at play. She was starting to realize that the ranch was more than a place to work. It was alive with complex emotions, and her presence was stirring something in this tight-knit community. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting long shadows that danced through the fields. The day's labor had exhausted her, and she felt a mix of pride and frustration. She longed to fit in, but the whispers and sidelong glances made her feel like an intruder. The pressure of her past loomed over her, and she could sense the scrutiny from the others. What were they really thinking? As she wrapped up her work for the day, Emma couldn't help but feel a flicker of hope. She had made it through her first day, and despite the difficulties, there was something exhilarating about the hard work. She took a moment to breathe in the crisp evening air, the scent of hay and earth filling her lungs. Perhaps this was the place where she could find herself, a place where she could finally embrace her strength. In the quiet moments, she reflected on her journey. This ranch represented not only a chance to pay off her debt, but also an opportunity for growth. Maybe, just maybe, she could carve out a space for herself here, amidst the vast expanses of land and sky. With renewed determination, Emma turned back to her tasks, her heart racing with possibilities. Little did she know that her journey would intertwine with Jack's in ways she could never have anticipated. The ranch was no longer just a job. It was her chance to rewrite her story, one that could lead to something beautiful. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over her surroundings, Emma smiled to herself. She felt a spark of hope flickering within her, a feeling she hadn't experienced in a long time. She was ready to embrace whatever came next, even if it meant facing the uncertainties ahead. For the first time in a long time, she felt alive. As the days turned into weeks, Emma found herself caught in a whirlwind of hard work and fleeting glances shared with Jack, the ranch boss. There was an unspoken tension that hung in the air, and she was acutely aware of how their paths intertwined, yet remained separate. Jack was a man of few words, his rugged exterior echoing the strength of the land he governed. Each encounter with him stirred a mix of admiration and trepidation deep within her. Emma's hands had become calloused from the labor, yet she wore her scars with pride. Every time she saddled a horse or mended a fence, she felt an exhilarating rush of accomplishment that momentarily chased away the weight of her past. But whenever she caught sight of Jack's inscrutable expression, her heart would race and her confidence would waver. Did he see her as just another ranch hand, or was there something more? One afternoon, while repairing a section of the fence, Emma overheard a conversation between two of her fellow ranch hands. The topic quickly shifted from idle chatter to whispers about Jack's aloofness and his intense focus on maintaining control over the ranch. "He's tough, but there's something broken behind those eyes," one of them remarked. Emma paused, contemplating their words. What had shaped Jack into the man he was today? As the sun began to dip below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of orange and purple, Emma's thoughts were interrupted by the sounds of laughter from the other ranch hands. They gathered around a fire, swapping stories, their camaraderie evident. She could feel the warmth of their bond, but she remained on the fringes, hesitant to join. Just then, Jack approached the group, his presence commanding instant attention. Emma watched as he exchanged a few words, his stoic demeanor seemingly softening in their company. Why was it so easy for them to connect with him? Emma felt an ache in her chest, a longing to break through the barrier that separated her from both Jack and her colleagues. She yearned to belong, to be part of this vibrant community, yet the pressure of her unpaid debts held her back. How could she ask for acceptance when she felt like an imposter, weighed down by her past decisions? The next day, while tending to the horses, Emma caught Jack watching her from a distance. His gaze was steady, and for a moment she felt a spark of encouragement. Perhaps he noticed her hard work. Summoning her courage, Emma decided to approach him. "Jack, do you have a moment?" She stuttered, her heart racing. He turned to face her, his expression unreadable. "What is it?" he asked, his voice deep and steady. "I've been working on my skills and would appreciate any feedback you might have." Her voice was barely above a whisper, and she cast her gaze to the ground, embarrassed by her own vulnerability. Jack regarded her for a moment, and for a brief second she thought he might dismiss her. Instead, he nodded slowly. "You're doing well. Just keep your posture steady when you ride." Emma felt a rush of warmth wash over her at his words, and she couldn't help but smile. "Thank you. I'll keep that in mind." As she turned to walk away, she felt a twinge of disappointment. Their exchange, though brief, had given her a glimpse of the Jack she wished to know better. Yet the distance between them still felt insurmountable. The following weeks brought a flurry of activity and the inevitable misunderstandings that come with working closely together. One afternoon, during a routine cattle drive, an argument broke out among the ranch hands. Emma could sense the tension escalating when one of the men accused another of careless mistakes. Jack intervened, his voice firm and authoritative. But as he did, Emma noticed a flicker of something in his eyes. Frustration, perhaps? Watching the confrontation unfold, Emma felt a familiar tightening in her chest. It was a microcosm of all the emotions swirling around the ranch. Pride, fear, and vulnerability coalesced into a palpable energy that hung in the air. Moments like this reminded Emma of her own struggles, and she sensed that Jack was battling a turmoil of his own, a fear of attachment, a fear of losing control. The day wore on, and as the sun set, Emma found solace in her evening routine. The quiet of the ranch wrapped around her like a comforting blanket as she reflected on the day's events. She took a deep breath, inhaling the earthy scent of the hay and the lingering warmth from the sun. It was peaceful here, yet her heart was anything but at peace. With each passing day, her feelings towards Jack grew more complicated. He was strong, fiercely dedicated to his work, but there was a vulnerability lurking beneath the surface. Emma longed to know the man behind the stoic exterior, the one who had dedicated himself to this land, yet seemed burdened by it. Their paths crossed more often, and she couldn't help but notice how his demeanor shifted slightly when he acknowledged her. There was a flicker of something in his eyes that made her heart skip a beat. One quiet evening, as the stars began to twinkle against the deepening blue sky, Emma found herself wandering towards the barn. She had just finished feeding the horses when she heard footsteps behind her. Turning around, she was surprised to see Jack standing there, his silhouette framed by the soft glow of the lanterns. "Just checking on you," he said, his voice low and steady. "I appreciate that," Emma replied cautiously, unsure of where this conversation might lead. For a moment they stood in comfortable silence, the weight of their unspoken words hanging between them. Emma could feel her heart racing, the tension building as if they were on the brink of something monumental. Just then, Jack broke the silence, his voice softer than she had ever heard. "You're doing well here. It's not an easy job." "Thank you," Emma replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "It means a lot coming from you." In that moment, she realized that her journey wasn't just about paying off her debt. It was about finding a way to connect with the people around her, especially Jack. She smiled, feeling hopeful for the first time in a long while. This ranch, with all its challenges, was becoming a place where she could truly belong. If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Emma smiled to herself, knowing that with every passing day she was getting closer to discovering more about the ranch, her co-workers, and the enigmatic man who had unwittingly captured her heart. The storm had arrived without warning, dark clouds rolling over the horizon and casting an ominous shadow across the ranch. Emma found herself in the barn, surrounded by the scent of hay and the nervous whinnies of the horses. She was trying to calm a particularly skittish mare, her heart pounding not just from the closeness of the storm, but from the tension that had been building between her and Jack. The walls of the barn creaked as the wind whipped through the cracks, and Emma felt a rush of anxiety. She had been thinking about the quiet moments they shared, those fleeting glances that spoke volumes, and now she was alone, grappling with her feelings in the midst of chaos. As she stroked the mare's neck, her thoughts drifted to Jack, his calm demeanor, the way he commanded respect without raising his voice, and the burdens he carried, which she was just beginning to understand. Suddenly, the door flew open and Jack burst in, his face a mask of concern. "Emma, are you all right?" His voice was urgent, cutting through the sounds of the storm like a lifeline. "I'm fine," she replied, though her voice trembled slightly. "Just trying to keep her calm." Jack glanced at the mare, then back at Emma, his brow furrowed deeply. The intensity of the moment electrified the air around them, and Emma could feel the weight of their unspoken words pressing down. He took a step closer, the storm raging outside seeming a distant echo to the tempest brewing between them. "Let me help," he said, moving to her side. Together they worked to soothe the horse, and as their movements synchronized, Emma felt a rush of warmth. The world outside faded away, leaving only the two of them in that small space, united in the task at hand. "I didn't know you cared so much about the horses," Jack remarked, a hint of admiration in his tone. Emma looked at him, taken aback by the sincerity in his voice. "They're not just animals, they're part of this place. I want to do right by them." Jack nodded, a flicker of understanding passing between them. But as quickly as it came, it was gone, replaced by the tension that had marked their interactions. Emma could sense the walls he had built around himself, and it made her heart ache. Just then, another crack of thunder rumbled overhead, and the mare jumped, nipping at the air. Emma grasped Jack's arm instinctively, seeking shelter in the security he offered, even if it was just for a moment. The contact sent a jolt through her and she quickly let go, feeling heat rise to her cheeks. "Sorry," she stammered. Jack's gaze locked onto hers, the moment stretching between them like the silence before a storm. "It's all right. It's just a lot happening," he said, his voice softer now. "We all have our fears." Emma's breath caught in her throat, their vulnerability laid bare amidst the chaos. "Yes, we do," she replied, her heart racing. She wanted to share her own fears, the debt that loomed over her like a dark cloud, but the words felt stuck in her throat. "Tell me," Jack urged, stepping a fraction closer. "What's really going on with you?" His openness caught her off guard. Emma hesitated, the weight of her past and the shame she felt almost immobilizing. I don't want to burden you with my problems," she said, her voice barely a whisper. Jack's expression softened, and for the first time, she saw a glimpse of the man beneath the stoic exterior. "You're not a burden. I want to know," he insisted. Taking a deep breath, Emma found the courage to speak. "I owe money, a lot of it. I came here to work off my debt, hoping to find a way to start fresh. But it's always there, hanging over me." Jack's eyes darkened, and she could see the gears turning in his mind. "I had no idea," he said slowly, the weight of understanding settling between them. "Is that why you've kept your distance?" "Yes," she admitted, feeling exposed. "I didn't want you to think less of me." Jack shook his head, a fierce determination in his gaze. "You're strong, Emma. Stronger than you realize. Don't ever think less of yourself for trying to make things right." A wave of gratitude washed over her, and for the first time, she felt seen. The storm outside raged on, but inside the barn, there was a sense of peace beginning to blossom. They stood together, their hearts laid bare, the distance between them shrinking in the face of their shared vulnerabilities. I've been scared too, Jack confessed, his voice low as he took a deep breath. Scared of losing control, scared of letting someone in. But seeing you here, working so hard, it's made me rethink a lot. Emma felt her heart flutter, surprised by his admission. You're not alone in this, you know, she said softly. We're all just trying to figure it out. Jack looked at her, something unspoken passing between them, and in that moment the storm's fury outside felt like a distant memory. They were two souls, navigating their fears together, finding comfort in the shared experience of vulnerability. As they lingered in the warmth of each other's presence, the storm outside began to lose its ferocity. Emma smiled, her heart lightening as she realized that perhaps this ranch, with all its challenges, was leading her to something profound. If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Emma's thoughts raced with hope, knowing that with every storm that passed, there would be room for new beginnings, new connections, and perhaps a chance to bridge the gap between her heart and Jack's. As the storm cleared, so did the emotional fog that had enveloped Emma and Jack. They emerged from the barn, the air fresh and cool after the rain, a sense of calm washing over them. The ranch felt transformed, almost alive, as if it too had been reborn through the storm. Emma's heart swelled with a mix of hope and relief. The barriers between her and Jack had begun to dissolve, creating a new understanding that lingered in the air like the scent of wet earth. Jack looked at Emma, his expression softer than she had ever seen. You're really something, he said quietly, the weight of his words hanging between them. I never expected this. I thought the ranch was just about the work, but it's more than that, isn't it? Emma nodded, feeling the truth of his statement resonate within her. Yes, it is. It's about the people, the connections we make, and the understanding that grows between us. She hesitated for a moment, gathering her thoughts. It's about realizing we're not alone in our struggles. Jack's gaze held hers, filled with an intensity that sent butterflies fluttering in her stomach. We all have our battles, don't we? He asked, almost as if he were seeking reassurance. I've been so focused on keeping everything in control, but maybe I don't have to do it alone. The vulnerability in his voice touched something deep within Emma. You don't have to, she replied, her voice steady despite the racing of her heart. Sometimes it's okay to let go, to trust someone else to share the load. Jack studied her for a moment, the tension in his shoulders easing as his walls began to crumble. I'm not used to that, he admitted. I've always had to be strong, to be the one everyone relies on. But you've shown me that strength can come from vulnerability too. Emma felt a warmth spread through her. It was a simple acknowledgement, yet it meant the world. And you've shown me that it's okay to lean on someone, she replied, allowing a smile to break through. Maybe this ranch can be a place for both of us to grow, to heal. As they walked side by side, the sun broke through the clouds, casting golden rays across the landscape. The ranch transformed under the brightening sky, revealing a beauty that had been hidden by the storm. Emma felt a deep sense of belonging, a feeling she had longed for since she arrived. There was something special about this place and the connections she was forging. I never thought I would find someone who understands me on this level, Jack said, his voice low. I've kept everyone at arm's length, but you've changed that. Emma's heart raced at his admission. And you've changed how I see my own fears, she confessed. I've been running from my past, but working here has made me confront it. It's scary but liberating. Jack reached for her hand, their fingers brushing against each other. The simple touch sent a thrill through her, igniting a spark of hope. Let's face it together then, he declared, his resolve strengthening. No more hiding. Let's take on the ranch and our fears, side by side. They stood for a moment, hand in hand, the world around them buzzing with life as if it too was celebrating their newfound connection. The laughter of their fellow ranch hands echoed from a distance, a reminder that they were part of something bigger. Emma smiled, grateful for the journey that had led her to this moment. I can't promise it will be easy, but I'm willing to try, she said, her voice firm. We can learn from each other, share the burdens of our pasts, and create something beautiful from it. Jack squeezed her hand, his eyes reflecting a mix of admiration and hope. I believe we can, he replied. Together, we can turn this ranch into a home, a place where we can both find peace and happiness. As they moved forward, stepping confidently into the future, Emma felt a sense of lightness in her heart. The challenges ahead seemed less daunting now that they were facing them together. Thank you for being brave enough to share your truth with me, Jack said, breaking the silence. It's not something I take lightly. Emma's heart swelled with gratitude. Thank you for listening. It's so important to have someone understand. We can build something genuine here. As they walked back toward the main house, the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the ranch. The shadows of the past started to fade, replaced by a feeling of possibility. Emma glanced at Jack, who was looking ahead with newfound determination. For the first time in a long while, she felt hopeful about the future. Trust was blooming between them like wildflowers after the rain, vibrant and full of life. As they reached the porch, Emma turned to Jack. I'm excited for what comes next, she said, her voice filled with enthusiasm. Let's make this place not just a ranch but a home for us. Jack nodded, a smile spreading across his face. Yes, let's do it. In that moment, Emma realized that the true strength of the ranch lay not just in the land or the work they did, but in the connections they forged with each other. It was about the laughter shared, the burdens lifted, and the love that grew in the most unexpected places. Thank you for listening, and remember to leave a comment about your favorite moment. Emma smiled, her heart brimming with hope, knowing that they were embarking on a journey filled with endless possibilities together.